Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it's your boy, Evan King, back with another one. This video, what's clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned to believe it's normal. Everything that they tell you to eat for breakfast, and create this illusion that it's healthy. Like, don't even get me started on that. Off the top, I'm gonna say, like, yeah, that insurance is a scam. Credit is a scam. But let's see what this video breaks down and shares with us, because I could give you a list for days. Let's get it.
Something that's clearly a scam, but Americans
Good
have
question,
been
too.
conditioned to believe is normal.
There's so many, but I'm gonna give you the top that really pissed me off. The first one is the fact that you can't put your parents, your grandparents, or your siblings on your health insurance. So if you have a great job with great insurance and your siblings are young or something's wrong or your parents something, you can't put them on. They'd rather you go to the government, get assistance, get Medi-Cal, Medicare, take other people's tax money instead of you paying for them out of your pocket. The second thing is that in America, 18 is considered an adult, right? But they still use your parents' income to determine if you're able to pay for college. The third one that I think is mind-blowing is that we have to pay for water.
What's something that's clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned to
You gotta pay
believe
for
is
water.
Okay, I know I look kind of gross. Sorry, I just woke up. But this is something I've actually heard someone talk about on TikTok before, like they've addressed it. But when you go into debt and your debt gets sent to a debt collector, they buy your debt for however much it costs, and then they make money by charging you more money because they bought your debt. So you're only entitled to pay what you actually owe, and sometimes even less than that. Like, I've done research on it and it's true. So if you're being chased after by a debt collector, you need to ask them how much they bought your debt for and then just pay that. You do not have to pay any of the interest because that is not money that you have. You don't have to pay that because they made it up. Like, I'm being serious. Look it up. It's crazy.
What's
I'm
something
gonna look that one
that's
up.
clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal?
Not having kettles. I can't believe that the vast majority of Americans don't use kettles. They like heat up water on the stove. They microwave water. What is that about? Like, look at this that I saw on Twitter. A fucking godsend, sis. Oh my god, mine is so cute and rose gold. Got it from Target like a year ago. Plus, it shuts off once it boils, so I don't burn shit, El Mayo. I get so tired of warming water on the stove like my ancestors. Tip, if you hadn't thought of it already, boil the kettle for cooking as well. For example, if you're making pasta, instead of bringing the water to boil on the stove, boil it in the kettle, then pour it into the pot so you don't have to wait. Like, come on. I get that it's a British thing in culture to make tea, but surely everyone could just use a fucking kettle. Like, grow up?
I ain't go front. I microwave my water. Like, whenever I'm making tea, I a kettle. That's a cultural thing. Like, yeah, like I microwave my water.
What's something that's clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal?
Betta fish are a scam. Betta fish need at least 3 gallons, if not 5 to 10, of tank space, not the tiny little bowls that they sell marketed to betta fish. They're also tropical, so they need a heater, and they're carnivores, so they need to eat meat. The reason why they sell them to you in those tiny little cups and they give you those flakes with plant matter and stuff in them is because betta fish are pretty. So even when they're sick, they're still going to be pretty. And guess what? They're going to die faster. And what happens when your fish dies? You go back and you buy more. Here's an example of a minimal tank setup for a betta fish. It's 3 gallons. It's got some planks for him to hang out on. It's got a heater. That's it. They also need clean water, not water filled with their own pee and poop. So being in a tank like this, or like this, or like this, it's like being trapped in a see-through porta potty.
What's something that's clearly a scam, but Americans have been conditioned?
That tipped workers make less than minimum wage. Like much of America's history, tipping has a racist legacy, so let's talk about how we got here. Tipping showed up in America after the Civil War because wealthy Americans who were vacationing in Europe wanted to seem sophisticated. But America in general actually hated the concept of tipping. They thought of it as classist and condescending. They disliked it so much that that dislike actually spread to Europe, and as a result, Europe doesn't customarily tip anymore. They pay their servers minimum wages. Why isn't it that way in America? Because slavery had just ended, and in the hospitality sector, employers didn't want to pay former slaves, so they let them work just off of tips with no wages. When restaurant owners finally figured out how much they had to gain from this, they lobbied really hard and made sure that when the 1938 Fair Labor and Standards Act was introduced, it excluded tipped workers from a minimum wage. More in part 2. Part 2 of tipped workers' wages in America. It wasn't until 1966 that advocates were even able to accomplish a base pay for tipped workers, and even then it was a sub-minimum wage. The current federal minimum wage for tipped workers is $2.13 an hour. It hasn't been changed in 25 years. The idea is that if your tips don't add up to minimum wage, that the employer is supposed to make up for that. But the Department of Labor did a compliance sweep from 2010 to 2012 and found that 84% of restaurants had violated those laws. Further complicating this issue is the fact that there's not a consensus among servers whether or not this would be a good thing to get rid of tips, because there are a lot of servers who make good money, but the numbers don't lie. Tipped workers experience poverty at a much higher rate than non-tipped workers, and I'm sure you're not going to be surprised by hearing this. Women and people of color typically make less in tips than do their white male counterparts, so we have to start asking ourselves whether or not this system is working for everybody. More in part 3. Part 3 of tipped workers' wages in America. So let's talk about restaurants. If you've watched parts 1 and 2, then you know now why you're paying the servers' bills, right? But did you know that you're also paying for other employees? There's a thing called tip share. Now, I can't really provide a source for this because so many restaurants do it differently, but in my experience, what I had to do was print out my sales for the end of the night, and based on what my sales were, I paid 3% of it in tip share. And that tip share went to hosts, bussers, bartenders, etc. Here's the kicker though. If you don't get tipped, you still owe that tip share. So when somebody stiffs you on a $100 check, you pay $3 out of your own pocket to serve them. I understand that there are some...
What? I mean, I tip people. You know what I'm saying? Like I tip people like fairly decent. But what? A tip share? So all those times I be leaving my little $15, $16 on the counter, the person that served me got to break that down between the people washing dishes and the people standing outside the... What? That's crazy. And on top of that, if you don't tip anybody, it got to come out of your check. I wish it... Why do people even work at restaurants? That's crazy.
People that say, well, if they didn't do a good job, then I shouldn't have to tip them. But please take these factors into consideration. There could be 100 reasons why the service was bad, and not all of them are the server's fault. We could be the very best servers on the planet, and some people just still won't tip us. And unless they commit...
Let's be honest. As Americans, we tend to, like say you go to a restaurant and your food arrives, like it takes mad long for your food to get, to arrive to you. Half the time, we kind of look at the waiter like it's the waiter's fault. Even though we know, like, that there's chefs, there's people like managing like people's orders and things that of the nature, but we tend to look at the waiter like it's their fault that our food is cold, or it's their fault that we're waiting mad long for our food. And it's like we feel some type of way, not even towards the people really responsible. We take it out on the waiters and the waitresses, and it doesn't even make any sense, because it's like, hey, I didn't cook your food, I just got to bring it to you. Valid point.
It's some kind of heinous act. Does anybody deserve to pay out of pocket to do their job? Part 4 of tipped workers' wages in America.
She's going off.
If you watch parts 1 through 3, you figured out that the biggest beneficiaries of this system are the businesses themselves. Customers should not be required to pay damn near the entirety of servers' salaries, and servers should not be dependent on individuals who are under no obligation to tip them. And all of this in addition to the fact that serving can be an incredibly demeaning job. There's something about the title of server that brings out the worst in some people. I have cleaned up the vomit of a grown-ass woman. I have been sexually harassed. I have been cursed out over a hamburger. I have dug through trash multiple times for retainers and wedding rings. I have been reduced to tears at least a dozen times during my 8 years of serving. We're also expected to do all of that and receive that treatment with a good attitude and a smile on our face. For those who say you chose that job, if you don't like it, you should just leave. Restaurant workers make up 9% of the workforce. It's not like you can just all quit in one day. So I hope we do make those much needed changes in time. But until then, please be kind to your server and tip.
I ain't gonna front. She just dropped 81 on that one. She dropped 81. She like, what? damn, those. I mean, like, here's the thing. I had my fair share of experiences. I was literally a waiter for one day, and I hated it because I sucked. I couldn't carry a boatload of food on one tray. It's just my like part of my many skills. That's just not one of them. You know, like it's just not in me. Literally one day, and then I quit. But she brought up a valid point. Like, we shouldn't be like us as customers shouldn't be forced to have to tip in order to compensate for the waiters or waitresses' salary. Like, it's not our jobs to make sure that you get paid. It's the management. It's the company that hires you. You know what I'm saying? And on top of that, as the waiter and the waitresses, it's not my responsibility to break bread with everybody here. I ain't working for everybody here. What the hell's going on here? So if I get tipped $100, I gotta put it in the machine where it gets calculated, and that $100 gets broken down between everybody. I'm sorry, was everybody That's toxic, bro. That's toxic. And the sexual harassment, I believe it. The disrespect over food, I believe it. Like, you know what I'm saying? And she brought up a good point. Calling them servers is wild. It's wild, son. It's wild. I thought we grew up as a country.
What's something that's clearly
That's crazy. I learned
scam
something.
that Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal?
College. Yeah, I said it. But y'all not ready for that conversation, though. Okay,
They
let me
not.
tell y'all why. For one, college
They're not ready for that conversation. But I am.
does not teach you how to make money. College teaches you how to get a job. You pay thousands of dollars every year, and what do they give you in return? A piece of paper. A piece of paper pretty much stating that you know the bare minimum to enter this field and get a job. Here's the funny part. A job isn't even guaranteed. You'd be surprised on how many people graduate college and don't even get a job in the field that they majored in. And it's crazy to me, right? Because
Those numbers, like, I mean, like, come on, let's be honest. Everybody watching this video, how many times have your college degree helped you get a job? Matter of fact, what was the first job you had after earning your bachelor's or your associates? I'll wait. He's spitting facts. Another one dropping 81. And by 81, I mean Kobe, 81 on the Raptors. He's going insane right now. He's on fire.
Because people would literally not invest in themselves. You know, they won't put in like $500 to learn how to make 6 figures plus. I mean, who wouldn't do that? But we'll pay $60K a year, maybe more, for college. That doesn't even guarantee you money. And not only is it $60K, but it's a loan with interest. Well, let me tell y'all something. I'm 19 and I have never stepped foot in college. And my bag is long.
Come with me on this Twitter thread.
Good for you.
What's something that's clearly a scam but Americans have been conditioned to believe is normal? Filing taxes. Other countries just send you a bill. U.S. uses human error to prey on poor people and let rich people game the system. Advertising for prescription drugs, rarely taking vacations, supersized portions, flying flags everywhere, going into debt over the cost of college, bankruptcy due to health care costs, credit scores, filing your own taxes, cops in schools, militarized police, guns in general, no maternity, paternity leave, and PB&Js. Strapping 17-year-old kids with no credit 50 to 100K in loans to pay for degrees in which doesn't guarantee a job or career.
Yeah.
Insurance deductibles. It's basically saying you paid monthly for this product you may not ever need, but if you ever actually do need it, you're going to have to pay more just because. Credit scores. Nothing's real. It's all made up. Do what you want. It's all made up. What's something that's clearly a scam but Americans...
VPN companies are the biggest scam in America. They are so prevalent right now, and yet there has been no use for them whatsoever. And most people don't even understand why they need one in the first place. See, most people think this is what's happening when you connect to a VPN. You're blocking your traffic from your ISP before you go to the website. What actually happens is this. You're delegating your trust to your VPN instead of your ISP. All that happens when you're using a VPN is that you're hiding your IP address and it encrypts its traffic within its tunnels. The second one, completely worthless. Literally everything is encrypted in traffic right now with HTTPS. Your Wi-Fi signal is encrypted too. There's nothing that a VPN adds. And also, if you are doing any illegal shit on a VPN, take that device and chuck it as far as you can down the Hudson right now. All of them will hand over your information to the government without questions asked. You need to educate yourself immediately right now if you want to swipe with that shit.
What's the most inappropriate thing a therapist has ever said to you?
It's more of what she did than what she said. This lady forces me to come out to my transphobic father.
It doesn't matter. I completely agree with all these scam shits like that. The college one slap. I alluded to something earlier about insurances. It's just like, yo, you're paying something every month that you hope you never really have to use. And it does, like, think about this, right? Quick little scenario. For everybody that's, you know, that has their own car, you pay for insurance every month, right? Sometimes it's $250, sometimes it's $300, depending on, you know, your credit history, whatever. You pay $300 every month for this, right? And you would think in some sort of fallacy that the $300 that you pay to these companies actually protects you or your car if you get into an accident. You know what I'm saying? It's like imagine if the $300 you get for your car literally put a force field around your car to prevent accidents. It doesn't. You can still get into an accident and you can still die. And guess what? Somebody has to pay that bill. Nonetheless, welcome to America. You know, welcome to America where these scams are just regular. The college one, I mean, come on, let's be honest. Like, so many of us strive for college degrees, a piece of paper, and it's like, yo, like I got 2 degrees in my closet right now that has yet to even get me one job, one interview. You know what I'm saying? It's just a credential. Okay, I went to college, so what? Very interesting. Very interesting. A lot to take away from this. But I appreciate you guys for tuning in. If you rocked out, please like, share, and subscribe. It's your boy Evan King. Follow me on all my social media platforms. I'll be tweeting now, man. I enjoy it. But I hope you guys are having a great day, a great vibe, and we'll be back with another one.